Hello there, you're tuning in to Nightline with me, Pritha Manivannan. The headlines. Curbs eased for creative industries cinemas to reopen from Thursday. And Election Commission to implement Undi18 by December. Good morning. Cinemas will be allowed to reopen to fully vaccinated individuals starting Thursday. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob in a statement said cinema halls could operate at 50% audience capacity. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said this was part of the government's decision to relax the standard operating procedures SOP for the creative industry for states currently under Phase 1 of the National Recovery Plan NRP. He said the decision would bring relief to more than 1 million creative industry workers and artists in the country, as well as assisting more than 19,000 companies related to the creative industry. In a statement on Tuesday, the Prime Minister said the easing of the restrictions was made as some states have reached the 80% rate of vaccination for the adult population or have achieved herd immunity. He said the creative industry contributed 2% or 29 billion ringgit of the gross domestic product GDP in 2019. The Election Commission, EC, has been instructed to implement Undi18 by December 31st in compliance with a court order last Friday. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Parliament and Law, Datuk Seri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar, said the government will comply with the Kuching High Court's decision compelling Putrajaya to lower the voting age from 21 to 18 by the deadline. Datuk Seri Wan Junaidi said for now there was no decision on whether or not the government would appeal against the court order.
Saya sudah meminta pihak SPR untuk melaksana apa saja yang perlu berlandaskan kuasa yang ada di bawah SPR mengikut apa yang disebut oleh hakim dalam Mahkamah Tinggi di Sarawak untuk melaksanakannya. Walaupun ramai banyak lagi undang-undang yang perlu diluluskan Parlimen, tetapi dalam SPR punya tu ada kuasa-kuasa tertentu untuk melaksanakannya.
Last Friday, the Kuching High Court ordered the EC and the Malaysian government to implement Undi18 by December 31st this year. Judicial Commissioner Alexander Siu Hao Wai made the decision after allowing the judicial review application brought by 5 Malaysian youths to seek immediate enforcement of a federal constitution amendment to lower the minimum voting age from 21 to 18. Datuk Sri Wan Junaidi said the government has yet to decide on whether or not to file an appeal against the court's decision, and as such, the order still has to be followed. The decision on COVID-19 vaccination for students will be finalised at the coordination meeting involving the Health and Education Ministries scheduled for Thursday. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said as soon as the final decision on the matter is made, it would be taken to the National Security Council for further action.
Hari Khamis ini saya ada mesyuarat penyelarasan bersama dengan pengurusan tertinggi KKM bersama dengan Menteri Pendidikan dan juga pengurusan tertinggi Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia. Apa pun kita akan buat keputusan muktamad pada selepas mesyuarat itu.
He said this to reporters after checking on the COVID-19 vaccination outreach program for the island community in Pulau Larapan in Semporna, Sabah on Tuesday. He said apart from vaccination for students, several other proposals relating to the health and education sectors would also be discussed in the meeting. The Health Minister, however, did not provide further details on the said proposals. Malaysia is putting a priority on rebuilding its economy and placing the country on a stronger footing with a more competitive economy. The government's priorities in the next 10 years includes increasing income, eliminating absolute poverty and reducing development gaps between the states and regions.
The challenges we have been facing in the last 18 months, of course, have also presented an opportunity to revisit our policies and strategies. Our priority is to build back better, to rebuild the Malaysian economy, to place Malaysia on a stronger economic footing, and to build a more competitive economy.
Malaysia is putting a priority on rebuilding its economy. He said this in his keynote address at the 12th Malaysia Plan, Developing the Nation in the Spirit of Keluarga Malaysia webinar. Other priorities includes creating a policy environment that is conducive to private sectors as well as local and foreign investors. Growth and development that is inclusive and resulting in more unity and cohesion in the context of Keluarga Malaysia will also be a priority. A total of 40,680 cases of loss of employment, LOE, have been recorded in the country as of August this year, with an average of 5,811 cases per month. Human Resources Minister Datuk Sri M. Saravanan said the Social Security Organisation SOCSO's employment insurance system is monitoring the LOE trend on a daily basis in order to provide protection to workers who have lost their jobs for various reasons. Datuk Sri Saravanan said the government since March 2020 has taken various measures to alleviate the burden of the people and ensure businesses can continue to operate to avoid huge retrenchment exercises, including the National People's Wellbeing and Economic Recovery Package, Pemulih, which was launched in June this year. SOCSO, an agency under his ministry, is tasked with implementing Pemulih programs such as the Wage Subsidy Program 4.0, Penjana Kerjaya 3.0, Kerjaya Gig and SIP Prihatin 2.0, which are targeted at employers, employees, job seekers and the self-employed. Meanwhile, the national job portal, My Future Jobs, has so far recorded a total of 1.29 million vacancies from 21 sectors and a total of 564,830 active job seekers have registered on the portal, with 196,471 successful placements recorded. In other news, Sarawak remained as the state with the highest number of new COVID-19 infections on Tuesday, reaching the 3,000 mark for 2 consecutive days, with 514 cases fewer than the total reported a day earlier. The Health Ministry said that more than 18,547 new cases were detected on Tuesday, with Sarawak recording the highest number of infections with 3,200 cases, followed by Selangor and Johor. A record 311 patients succumbed to the deadly virus, with 93 patients brought in dead. The figure brings the country's COVID-19 death toll to 18,802. The number of patients at the intensive care unit dipped below the 1,000 mark, with 447 people in need of ventilators. Of the 39 new clusters detected, 29 were related to workplaces. Traders in Sabah have been given 7 days effective September 5th to adjust the ceiling price of COVID-19 self-test kit. The Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry said it would not be lenient to traders who fail to follow the maximum price control that had been set for the COVID-19 self-test kit after the one-week period ends. The ministry's Sabah Director, Georgie Abbas, said 3 premises selling COVID-19 self-test kits failed to reduce the price of the item after the government announced a ceiling price for it. He said traders who failed to reduce the price of the self-test kit were asked to lower the price to the ceiling price of 19 ringgit 90 cents per unit. The trio were among 35 premises in the state inspected by its enforcement team. He also added that strict action would be taken if they continue to sell above the ceiling price. The Malaysian Association of Tour and Travel Agents, MATA, is hoping that the Standard Operating Procedures SOP for the Langkawi Pilot Travel Bubble Program will be announced soon. Now, MATA Kedah Chapter Chairman Muhammad Yusin Muhammad Yatim said tourism industry players are ready to welcome tourists after a long hiatus due to COVID-19 pandemic worldwide. As it is a pilot program, MATA said it is anticipating the government to fine-tune the SOP along the way. He said the NSC knows what should be done and the organisation hopes the SOP can be announced soon. He believed the Tourism, Arts and Culture Ministry, together with the National Security Council (NSC), have drafted the relevant SOP to monitor the COVID-19 situation throughout the pilot program. Muhammad Yusin said full vaccination should be the utmost priority in the criteria for travellers to be allowed to come to Langkawi. MATA said that the industry players should know about the new SOP. Maybe there are new ones included. Due to that, it said that it is better if it can be announced earlier. The pilot program, which Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob announced earlier this month, is set to kick off on September 16th. Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri had said she hoped that the SOP for the pilot program can be approved and gazetted by the middle of next week. Coming up, Cowherder charged with murdering a rape victim. Welcome back. Security grills on the windows may have been a factor in the death of a family of 4 when their home in Kampong Hunggap in Penampang, Sabah was destroyed by a fire early Tuesday morning. The Sabah Fire and Rescue Department received a distress call from the victim's neighbor at around 2:50 a.m. and arrived at the scene 5 minutes later. However, the house had been completely engulfed and was totally destroyed by then. The victims, 50-year-old Matthew Wong, his 47-year-old wife Jackie Boon Kon Fung, and their children, 18-year-old Brandon and 15-year-old Eric, were found dead on the upper level of the house. Sabah Fire and Rescue Department Operations Assistant Director Misran Bisara said the remains of the victims were found in 2 locations. Authorities have not ascertained how the fire started, but have reason to believe it originated from the lower floor. He added that this could have hampered the family's escape, coupled with the fact that the windows were fitted with grills, preventing them from getting out. The blaze was brought under control at about 3:45 a.m. and the cause of the incident was still being investigated. In Pulau Penang, a cowherder was charged over a brutal rape and murder of a woman in Jawi last month by the Butterworth Magistrates Court on Tuesday. No plea was recorded from the accused, M. Kirubakaran, after the charge was read before Magistrate Aziana Azib. According to the charge sheet, the 29-year-old suspect is alleged to have caused the death of 40-year-old Lee Ling T at Taman Seruling Emas, Sungai Bakap, Jawi between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. on August 28th. He is charged under Section 302 of the Penal Code, which provides for the mandatory death sentence upon conviction. Apart from murder, Kirubakaran was also charged with 2 counts of taking drugs, namely methamphetamine and amphetamine. He pleaded guilty to the 2 drug-related charges. The court then ruled that no bail was to be given to the accused, and the case was set for remention on November 8th for the examination of the post-mortem and pathology report. Big Blue Taxi Premium Services founder Datuk Syamsul Bahrain Ismail has been charged at the Shah Alam Sessions Court with 3 counts of soliciting and receiving bribes. The accused, who is wheelchair-bound, pleaded not guilty when the charges were read to him before Sessions Court Judge Rosila Saleh. The 55-year-old was accused of soliciting 15,000 ringgit graft from Azizan Muhammad Yassin as an inducement to help resolve the latter's corruption case at the Court of Appeal. He was also charged with accepting 35,000 ringgit in 2 stages from the same person and for the same reason. He was alleged to have committed the offences between March 3rd and March 10th this year. The offences falls under the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Act, which carries 20 years in jail and a fine up to 5 times the value of the bribe or 10,000 ringgit, whichever is higher upon conviction. The court set 40,000 ringgit bail with 1 surety and fixed October 8th for mention. Johor Police have busted 3 Ketone processing syndicates following a series of raids in several districts in the state last week. Johor Police Chief Dato' Ayub Khan Maidin Piche said the raids resulted in the arrest of a total of 17 suspects, comprising of 13 men and 4 women, including 3 civil servants aged between 20 and 56. According to Dato' Ayub Khan, 2 of the suspects tested positive for drugs, while 3 others had previous records of drug and criminal offences. The raids conducted in Kota Tinggi, Kulai, Iskandar Putri, Johor Bahru and Tangkak between August 27th and September 4th by the state's Narcotics Criminal Investigation Department also saw police seizing 542.73 kilograms of ketone leaves worth more than 5,400 ringgit and 300.8 litres of ketone water worth more than 3,000 ringgit.
Modus operandi yang dilancarkan oleh kumpulan ini, syndicate ini, adalah dengan membawa ketum daripada utara Semenanjung dengan menggunakan lori dan disiharkan sebagai barang essential. Kegiatan ini menjadi popular sejak kebelakangan ini ekoran harga pasaran ketum yang semakin tinggi dan permintaan yang meningkat.
Datuk Ayub Khan added that each kilogram of ketone leaves can produce between 10 and 15 litres of ketone water. The syndicates sell the water between 15 ringgit and 20 ringgit per litre in the local market. Police believe the syndicates have been active since the beginning of the year. Over in Selangor, a total of 34 foreigners, including 17 women, have been detained in Jeram under Ops Benteng. According to Pulau Penang Region 1 Marine Police Commander, Assistant Commissioner Shamsul Qasim, police received information about a boat ferrying undocumented immigrants off Pulau Angsa at around 2:45 a.m. on Monday. 2 patrol boats were then dispatched to the location, and after a 15-minute chase, Marine Police managed to stop the boat. Initial investigations revealed that the foreigners have been at sea for 3 days before approaching the beach at Selangor. It is believed that they had been waiting for orders from agents on shore before approaching the landing zone. Of the 34 undocumented immigrants, 32 were Indonesians, while 2 were Myanmar nationals. Most of the immigrants have worked in Malaysia before, while some came to meet their family members. Authorities added that 4 of those detained tested positive for COVID-19. In Negeri Sembilan, a newborn baby girl was found abandoned near a construction quarters in Seremban. According to police, the baby's mother must have given birth less than 12 hours before she was found at Taman Ara Sendayan. Seremban Police Chief ACP Muhammad Said Ibrahim said police received a call from a member of the public just before noon on Tuesday that the baby had been left on a patch of grass near an old kongsi. Police are appealing for public information on the incident. The baby still had her umbilical cord intact when the caller found her. Except for some insect bites, the baby was unharmed. Philippines backtracks, reimposes virus lockdown in capital. Details when we return. You're still with us on Nightline. Now on to the foreign front. Myanmar's shadow government, formed by opponents of military rule, called for a revolt against the junta on Tuesday, setting out a strategy that included action by armed militias and ethnic forces and urging bureaucrats to leave their posts. Dua Lashila, the acting president of the National Unity Government, NUG, said in a speech that the shadow government, which is made up of members in exile or in hiding, was declaring a state of emergency. declaring it was launching a defensive war. He also called for a revolt against the rule of the military terrorists led by Min Aung Hlaing in every corner of the country. He said military-appointed administrators should immediately leave their positions and urged members of the security forces to join them and for ethnic forces in border areas to attack the military. Previously, the junta has itself branded the NUG and People's Defense Forces as terrorist groups. A day after announcing the lifting of stay-at-home orders for more than 13 million people, the Philippines on Tuesday reimposed a virus lockdown in the capital, Manila. Despite record infections fueled by the hypercontagious Delta variant, the government had previously planned to start trailing granular lockdowns and in the national capital region from Wednesday. The surprise plan, which had been accompanied by few details on how it would be enforced, would have placed households, buildings, streets and neighborhoods in a hard lockdown instead of the entire capital. That would have lightened restrictions in the rest of the region, which accounts for about a third of the country's economy, and enabled many hard-hit businesses to reopen and spur local tourism. But the government's COVID-19 task force reversed course on Tuesday, saying current rules would be extended until September 15th or until the trial for targeted lockdowns was implemented. The move is a blow for businesses which had been expecting to reopen their doors to customers for the first time since August 6th, when the national capital region went into the latest lockdown. Cuba on Monday became the first country in the world to vaccinate children from the age of 2 against COVID-19 using homegrown jabs not recognized by the World Health Organization. The communist island of 11.2 million people aims to inoculate all of its children before reopening schools that have been closed for the most part since March 2020. Having completed clinical trials on minors with its Abdallah and Sobirana vaccines, Cuba kicked off its inoculation campaign for children on Friday, starting with those 12 and older. On Monday, it started distributing jabs in the 2 to 11 age group in the central province of Cienfuegos. Countries such as China, the United Arab Emirates and Venezuela have announced they plan to vaccinate younger children, but Cuba is the first to do so. The Cuban vaccines, the first developed in Latin America, have not undergone international scientific peer review. Actions from the US Open. Sports up next. sports, Maria Sakkari of Greece staged a remarkable comeback well past midnight in New York to knock out the 2019 champion Bianca Andreescu of Canada to book a spot in the quarterfinals of the US Open. Sakkari won 6-7, 7-6, 6-3 after a grueling 3-hour 30-minute contest at Flushing Meadows on Tuesday morning that ended at 2:13 a.m. local time, a new record for the latest women's singles finish at the US Open. The Greece player will take on Karolina Pliskova in the quarterfinals. Earlier in the men's category, world number 1 Novak Djokovic dropped a set but roared back to beat wildcard Jenson Brooksby to enter the quarterfinal and staying on course for a historic calendar Grand Slam. The 20-year-old Brooksby from California blitzed his superstar opponent off the court in the first set, 6-1 in less than half hour. But midway through the second set, Djokovic found his mojo and roared back to his usual self as he broke Brooksby and leveled the scores. Soon, the world number 1 was in control and dictated the match before wrapping up a 1-6, 6-3, 6-2, 6-2 victory in 3 hours. Djokovic will play Matteo Berrettini in the quarterfinal. As we wrap up Nightline this time around, let's take a look at this massive porcelain doll from China that officially became the world's biggest and maybe the creepiest life-sized porcelain doll in 2018. The female doll, created by Wang Chu and Deng Jiazi, stands at 1.72 meters tall. With that, I'm Pritha Manivannan. Thank you for watching and stay safe.